Hey, didn't want to keep you waiting again. If you blush, you lose. That simple challenge is the essence of Takagi-san. No major conflicts, just the gentle perplexities of adolescence. 2 young kids, 1 classroom, and 1 constant teasing contest. Aiming for embarrassment above all else, whilst naturally drafting a deeply personal connection resembling a deft, realist miniature that operates as both a record of everyday spaces and a document of the emotionally charged, albeit ephemeral, interactions we have with those we find comfort in. Friends. Which I don't have, but you get it. Maybe even love. But that is very much in the backseat to Takagi-san's understated, natural, so cute humor. But occasionally, to the delight of desiring something more, the core relationship between Takagi and Nishikata displays emotional heft, offering consistent reflections on the perils of misunderstood adolescent feelings. They're so cute. 7 deadly sins is unrestrained, completely self-indulgent thrill-seeking for the sake of delivering something so simple it's impossible to misconstrue. Fun. It's a wild, solidly articulated wide unassuming that I can't do. It's a basic shonen that follows many of the same basic plot beats that have been done by every other single one. It seriously has no emotional aftermath to its happenings, but hey, it promises no weight outside of its action attempts. Considering those, it's pretty fun. The dulcet chords of a cello begin to sound. That's right, it's the last encore. Why is this getting an anime? It's like a decade. I'm sorry. It has been 5 years since I played Extra. Let me have some fun. As a game, I don't really recommend it, honestly, but it did make for some of Nasu's most indulgent writing as the with-nail tradition of absurdist metaphor. While Nasu's rough work on the original Fate Stay Night displayed a rare rawness containing the weird and bold fetishism few writers would indulge, Extra adheres to a subtlety to the development of theme and characterization that I would tend to find unusual for Nasu. But I don't, because Extra locates rugged, unspectacular beauty in capturing the feelings of youthful self-confidence, punctured by this sudden, galvanizing realization of not being the person you think you are, and how terrifying that can be. Now, I believe Nasu to be very hit or miss with everything, but his indulgence of the abnormal emphasizes this without abandoning his more bizarre quirks, making Extra into something undeniably horny. Or, just Fate at this point, honestly, just what the Fate franchise has become, which I'm okay with, it's fucking great. But Extra is specifically all about being dissatisfied, seeking more, thinking about one's life and what should be done with it. It's sometimes sloppy in developing those themes, sometimes very, very sloppy, but it is its boldness that gave way to a franchise I have come to love. And not just because it's always horny, but that is a lot of it.
それは終わりではなく始まり。終わりへの始まり。
Cardcaptor Sakura returns 15 or so years later. To not just blatantly disrespect the original, they got the original series' director, Morio Asaka. Makes perfect sense, having his directional debut with CCS and being one of the few talents left from the remains of Madhouse's better days. But while the original was genuinely vibrant, this new one feels authentically fabricated. Asaka understands the franchise, he really does, but that is actually to the series' own detriment. Clear Card Hen is attempting to imitate what made the original magical, while not truly understanding what it was that made it such. The original Cardcaptor Sakura hit me so profoundly at the right time and place in my life that I can't help but let it get wrapped up in this very special layer where there's no room for objectivity. I watched it just at the right time, but that's just it. Cardcaptor Sakura was so universal that no matter when you watch it, it will have that same effect. There is never not a perfect time for that impact. An impact of emotions fully realized through the original staff, reaching the absolute pinnacle of craft at the time. As a study of both adolescent epiphanies and adult convictions, Cardcaptor Sakura was distinguished by a dramatic complexity that would seem to run counter to its remarkably even-tempered tone. And it worked because of the production. Those people made this deep, dazing exploration of emotion unmatched by any sequel, by anything that could come after it. This new one, it lacks the visual and narrative feats to capture the magic that made Cardcaptor Sakura special. The resemblance is there, but the feeling isn't. I want to like it, but it's difficult to not compare.
はい。どちらさんですか？
私。
え？
私。
After topping the rankings for the Kono Light Novel Gasugoi 2017 contest, God, that was a mouthful, I thought to myself, why not? It's a new year. Let's check it out. And so at the beginning of 2017, I read Ryuuou no Oshigoto, and I couldn't stop. Before I knew it, my day was gone. It was 4 a.m. and I had read every volume out digitally at the time. With every page, I was continually struck by the series' complexity, compassion, and deeper understanding of the power and pratfalls of adolescence itself. And also, it is about a teenage shogi master who takes on a 9-year-old girl to be his disciple. Okay, now look, come back, listen, okay, no, listen. It is problematic. I know, I don't care. I know, I have only recently come back to youtube.com. But remember, have you watched me? When the fuck have I not liked problematic content? Also, one of the animators at Project Number 9 loves animating Hina so much, she cosplayed her. Look how cute that is. If that isn't the thing that has made me the happiest in the past year, I don't know what is. Ignoring the implied baggage, Ryuuou no Oshigoto is a series that manages to shift its tone with such shrewd cohesion that it is possible to disregard when it falls. And also, I am not a lollipop! Cute as fuck. Atsuko Ishizuka. Cute as fuck. Cute as fuck. With older Onesans drinking alcohol. Someday I'll talk to a real woman and maybe, I don't know, share a drink with them or so, I don't know. If you don't already know what Pop Team Epic is, I kind of feel like words aren't enough. Cute as fuck, but I would recommend giving it more than like 3 episodes. I hear it's a bit of a slow start. Cute as fuck gay girls with a side of overt trashiness, but that's fine. Because from feeling like outcast to familial to repressed sexuality to just being stupid beyond compare, Citrus is exactly what it wants to be. And I adore exactly what it wants to be. Koi wa Ameagari no Yoni anchors itself to a simple focus on maturity in relationships and does so in a realistic way, far removing itself from traditional love story rhapsody, a May-December relationship, a younger woman and an older man, without the gross, exploitative feeling. In fact, the exact opposite. It's sweet, built around a modest, sharply defined relationship that's scathing yet perfectly fair. It's a series that truly understands real life as much less about vanquishing enemies, extracting revenge, or saving the world. It is a series that understands there is meaning in these small, intimate stories. Our lives. Most of our biggest events are considered small and mundane, but our emotions during those are more precious and fragile than anything else. From that smallness and rich observation, it knows how to reach back out and find something so much bigger. It upholds the fact that love and friendships are real things that exist in this silly world of ours, and they really do mean everything. And in that respect, Koi wa Ameagari no Yoni is undeniable. Trapped in the very MMO that has become his world, Overlord forces its protagonist and the audience to look back on their very existence with a conflicted state of longing, dissatisfaction, appreciation, reservation, and necessary acceptance that all those emotions are a part of the same thing. Lack of personal ambition, lack of desire, lack of aspiration, lack of effort. Overlord honestly reminds me, not so fondly, of my very own honest-to-God existential crisis. Maybe it's because MMOs and just media in general tend to be my personal escapes, but Overlord's exploration of the personal cost associated with such things violently echoes my own fears of engulfing myself outside of my own reality. and also that's only a secondary to Overlord. It acknowledges that escapism isn't inherently harmful. It embraces both sides of it, and makes something occasionally introspective, occasionally fun, and occasionally horny.
どうした？
失態です。本来であれば新妻を追うと最終決戦装備裸エプロンでお出迎えするのが礼儀だ。
An original anime collab between Trigger and A1 Pictures. Now that's something that would most likely generate hype with most people, but it's not really that kind of project. It's more of an A1 project. Trigger's name is just kind of there to generate buzz, but some of the staff still is there, and the staff that is there and the possible later hidden staff is super outrageous with possibilities. Old Gainax talent and Maishi's bud, Atsushi Nishiguri, is finally getting a shot at another project with his return to the directional chair since the original Idolmaster, which was a buffet of exciting animator talent, and really, Darling in the Franxx will not be different in that regard. Despite the scheduling drawbacks, this was supposed to air in spring, but Aniplex pushed it to air now. So, since it's too cur, there's a chance it'll fall apart, but we'll see. Thanks, Aniplex. Nishiguri has already covered every base with Masayoshi Tanaka and Imashime on board, with Tanaka being highly recognized for detailed, thoughtful character animation, with his more apparent works displaying this like Anohana, the Anthem of the Heart, and, well, sorta your name? Shinkai wanted him to be the animation director for it, but he had way too many other projects to dedicate himself to, and anything outside of the OP and some of its best animated scenes meant he was only sorta kinda there. And then there's Imashime on the mecha action scenes to guarantee stretchy, rough visual presence, and oh my god, does that mecha have anime titty? Oh my god! Woohoo! Man, I'm not gonna be lonely much longer. I say to myself, but we both know that's not true. Thanks, Hayashi. Naotaka Hayashi, scenario writer for many 5PB games like Steins Gate, Robotics Notes, and other semicolon games, with sentimentality always prominent. Alright, I have said a lot of names, many of which are worth paying attention to, but it is boring to write about an original series that I have no background with besides staff. But boy, is that staff making it worth being excited for. So, at this moment, Darling in the Franxx is best described as a mecha-human drama about defining identity with anime titty mechs. Masaki Yuasa, the most wild, unapologetic, and stylistically divergent creator in the modern industry, is returning to TV anime with the already feral Devilman. Felt and experienced by an empowered desire to bring something truly unique in its genuinity to creativity, Yuasa has been alternating between misunderstood and fully realized series such as Kaiba, Ping Pong the Animation, and recent films like Lu Over the Wall or The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. Devilman Crybaby is a yet another attempt to tread new ground, combining Go Nagai's weird, pulpy, and violent tendencies into his work with his own testament to making something perfectly stylistic to his own desired thematics. Yuasa has created an adaptation of a Nagai work that boggles my fucking mind that it exists. Like most of Nagai's stuff, Devilman is abnormal in an amazing way, if that wasn't obvious from what I previously said, because all of its abnormalities with violence and relationships comes to the final meditations on the meaning of humanity and interesting gender stuff. It all boils down into a lyrical tone poem on the reversals of gender, power, destruction, without ever dissuading those points, with its assured weirdness always being perfectly in context. Seeing what Yuasa had to offer with this has made for one of the earliest contenders for being one of the best anime of 2018, and maybe just one of my favorite shows of all time.
知りたいのです。愛してるを知りたいのです。The smoke drive.
After slowly moving away from the production committee concept and starting their own publishing label for novels, I have always attempted to support Kyoto Animation's unexpected outing as much as possible. And after Violet Evergarden took the first grand prize in their contest since its founding, I knew I had to read it. So I bought it, waited 2 weeks, and my package never came. It got lost in the mail or something, I don't know. So I ordered it again, and then I read it. And as a series of vignettes painted by heartfelt letters delivered through the nominal character, the series reveals its nature of reality and the far bigger questions associated with our reactions to its nature of reality. It is deeply interested in psychoanalysis of each character, but especially you. It's keen to know how we deal with truths about selves and hang-ups. Violet Evergarden wants to know what drives you, what drives an idea, what drives its own writing, what drives narrative and excitement, but it's not only question. Violet Evergarden doesn't fear confrontation with its own ideas. it answers. And when you experience those specific conclusions, you see how the series is really operating. You realize it is not just questions, it is not neutral. It's not there just to talk to you, to ask you things, to wonder about you, because it wonders about this. It is practically spitting acid, and all of this alone would have been remarkable, but then you have to add the fact that every bit of framing, every beat, every animated cut, every moment of silence, every overwhelming music cue are all perfectly formed to terrorize and alleviate you with the operatic rhythm by the guiding hand of so many of the expressful talents at Kyoto Animation. Taichi Ishidate is the frontrunner for the project. He is more of a conflicting opinion for me, since I find his storyboards to be quite boring and safe, but I can't deny the positive influences at KyoAni that have had a poignant effect on his directing. And there's also the series director, Haruka Fujita, who is right there with him, making Violet Evergarden into something at once visually stimulating and thought-provoking. But Ishidate still exists, and compared to many of the other talents, I find him a bit cliche, a bit nauseatingly sentimentalized. But I'm not going to argue that he doesn't imbue his work with not-so-elegant visual metaphors, which are worthy of Violet Evergarden, because Violet Evergarden was never subtle. It was always crystal clear with its intentions, its exploration of death and rebirth, but the one thing it never did explore was Violet. And although that was sort of the point, it was also a drawback. It's a very weird book that I don't think I could recommend to most people. And with the first episode already being out, it is apparent that they are changing things. They had events at the beginning of the first episode that were at the end of the book, and a bunch of original content. They are turning Violet Evergarden into a person, not just something beautiful.
あいつはもう戻ってこない。